So today I want to talk about sunk cost fallacy, which is a term that I feel like a lot of the times is mostly applied to economics and business. However, it is something that, well, I guess you can call it behavioral economics. It's definitely something that you apply to the human condition and I guess psychology. So we're going to talk about that because I have a hard I have a hard time. I have mega problems with the sunk cost fallacy. Not in like I have a problem with the theory or the it in itself. It's I have a problem working with it to my benefit, if that makes sense. So if you don't know what the sunk cost fallacy is, in my words, and then I'll kind of go through someone else's words, an expert's words, just the way they put it. In my own words, basically, you invest something, whether it be time or money, energy, love. You invest something into something, whether it be an activity or a person or a thing. You're investing this thing into this other thing. You're investing the something into the other thing. And at some point, the situation changes or something starts to turn in a way that is unexpected, that you feel a negative association with. But you've invested so much initially that you feel you must follow through with whatever the commitment is. And see it to its, maybe logical end or whatever. Or the way that you envisioned it being because you have already made a large investment. So you feel like, well, I've already made that. I don't want to lose that. And if I were to leave that thing alone right now, then this would not be to my benefit. And that's the fallacy. The sunk cost is like there's a certain amount of investment that you will not get back. And because you won't get it back, you feel like you could... I don't know, I mean, I would compare it to maybe gambling in a certain way in some situations where, let's say you're gambling to win money. You're not gambling just for fun because some people just lose money gambling. They're having a good time and that's just like an activity for them, like a fun thing. But let's say you were gambling for money and you've already lost, let's say you lost past the amount you said you were willing to lose. That's, I mean, if you have a limit, which some people, you definitely should when you're trying to gamble for money. You're like, I can afford to lose, let's just say $300. You've invested $300 and you've lost it, and you say, okay, I need to walk away now. But instead of doing that, you get into this sunk cost fallacy of, I invested that, that's a sunk cost, I can't get that back, or can I? Maybe I can get that back. And you keep gambling, trying to get that back. But you can apply that to, I think, almost any other situation, trying to get enjoyment out of something when you've not enjoyed it for how long, and you keep pushing and pushing and pushing because you don't know what's around the corner. Before I get into more examples from my own life and why I have a hard time with this, I'll read the thing. So, this actually is from behavioraleconomics.com. Sunk cost fallacy. Individuals commit the sunk cost fallacy when they continue a behavior or endeavor as a result of previously invested resources, such as time, money, or effort. The fallacy, which is related to loss aversion and status quo bias, can also be viewed as bias resulting from an ongoing commitment. For example, individuals sometimes order too much food and then overeat just to get their money's worth. I am guilty. Similarly, a person may have a $20 ticket to a concert and then drive for hours through a blizzard just because they feel that they have to attend due to having made the initial investment. If the costs outweigh the benefits, the extra costs incurred, could be inconvenience or time or money, are held in a different mental account than the one associated with the ticket transaction. Research suggests that we are sensitive to sunk costs after we have made the decision to pursue a reward. So I want to go back to the second last part here. about the different mental accounts. If the costs outweigh the benefits, the extra costs incurred could be inconvenience, time, or money, etc., and they are held in a different mental account. And that is why it is so easy for people like myself sometimes that is one reason, to continue, investing in something when you could walk away, because you see it in a different, like I said, it's a different mental account. We compartmentalize things so well sometimes, and you're putting it in a different category, and therefore you're not thinking of like, oh, this isn't the same, I'm not incurring extra costs, it's just a different scenario, it's a different thing, but it's not at all. So, for me, sometimes this is even with media. Like, I start watching a show, I'm not enjoying the show anymore, and this is where I get all tripped up. Same thing with a book. I'm like, I'm not really enjoying this anymore, it was kind of okay, and now I'm realizing it's not great. But then, like a lot of people stop. At a certain point, people stop reading a book, people stop watching a show, they're like, this sucks, like I'm not going to go through. What if 3 seasons in, you realize you're not enjoying it as much anymore, and there's 10 seasons? You should probably stop, because you're wasting a lot of time watching something that you don't enjoy, right? And if you're not enjoying it, why are you still doing it? And then there's this thought, for me, there's 2 things. So let's use that example still. It's watching a show. There's a part of me that fights with this because I feel like I'm a completist when it comes to some things, like media. Part of it is like wanting to have the whole thing, and part of it is want to experience the whole thing. So if it's like a thing of purchasing media, collecting media, I want to have the complete collection. If it's consuming it, I want to have the experience of the whole thing, of knowing, yes, I've watched all of Friends. Did I enjoy the majority of it? I did not. I should have been watching something else that I enjoyed more, that I got more out of, whether it be just like entertainment or whether it pushed me to reflect and learn about myself or whatever, which sometimes I used to when I was like, had a different kind of scenario going on with my time and like family life and stuff, and just batching it up. I had like one show going that was like a half hour, like usually a sitcom, like Friends, or something that was like a nothing thing that was just like whatever, and then I had like a more serious show going that was maybe more of a drama or something that got me thinking a little more, and would kind of rotate between the two depending on my mood and time. Anyway, even if it was just for entertainment purposes, just to like relax and kind of turn off a bit and just something silly and light and fun, I could have moved on to something of a better quality that was silly and light and fun. It didn't have to be Friends, because I found that I did not enjoy it. Like I said, for the majority of the show, I was not enjoying it, and I'd be rolling my eyes and be like, oh my goodness, but I was enjoying it enough to not like completely hate my life. But that's the thing, I knew that there were other things, there's so many other things I could be watching, but I was like, yeah, but I've got to finish it. I started it now, and it wasn't so horrible, but I know that I would have had a better experience with something else. Except for there's this thing with me, and like it's like just there in my mind that it would like nag that I didn't finish it. Like I didn't finish it. So then that takes away from enjoying the new thing if I didn't finish that old thing. And I don't know how long it would take me to get over that not finishing part. If I didn't finish it, how long until I can be okay with not finishing it and I'm enjoying this other thing and I'm not thinking in the back of my head. There's a show that I haven't, House, for example. I really want to finish it. I'm in the last season. But it's been, I don't know how long now since I've seen an episode. I know kind of where I left off. It's not that I have to rewatch it. I remember stuff. It's not accessible to me as a show unless I try to go to a pirate service. And the one that I was using for streaming the show a couple of years ago, more than a couple of years ago, is not available anymore, and I don't really know where to go, and I don't really want to gamble with that. And it's like, when do I do that? I don't really have much time, but it still sits there in the back of my mind that I'm like, oh man, I really want to finish House. Oh, I really want to do that, and I should invest in trying to do that sometime, but I need to figure out where to go. So, side note, if you want to push me in the direction of a streaming service or something, then maybe I can do that. A safe one, obviously. So that's part of it. So the other part of I'm losing my train of thought, the sunk cost fallacy that I was going to talk about. So I want to talk about this completist thing with me. But the other part of it is the unknown. What if things pick up? What if it gets better? I find that this is more with books than with shows and stuff, because I think when you're watching a show, they don't. It's like you know what the show is going to be in the first couple episodes. You know how it goes. You don't know all the twists and turns and drama that might happen, but you kind of get a feel for this is this kind of show. This is what's going to happen with it. And if you like it, you keep going. And like with Friends, for some reason, well, not for some for obvious reasons, eventually I just was like, this isn't really doing it for me anymore. But with a book, you don't know necessarily how it's going to go until you're done. So I hold out and I have faith that something will happen to make it all worth it. A book is a way bigger time investment as well than just like, well, I mean, it depends on the show and if if it's a movie or whatever, or if it's a show and there's X amount of seasons, and depending on how big the book is and whatever, if we're comparing. But it's a pretty big commitment anyway. It's way easier to watch many different shows than it is to read many different books, at least for me. So, but there's that other thing of like the gamble of like, what if it gets better? What if I don't want to miss out? It's like FOMO for me. There we go. That's what it is. Thank you. I figured it out. FOMO is the reason that I end up in sunk cost fallacy all the time. And it goes from different extremes, right? Because even with like certain types of relationships, it's like, I don't want to miss out on this thing that could be this great friendship or, romantic relationship or whatever. It's not doing it for me right now. What if this is just a rough patch? What if, in the future it gets better? I'm doing what I can do, but I'm trying to wait on someone else to see what they can do. And it's like the fear of missing out, but in this different context than we mostly know it, because it's not like a social event and whatever, and me being weird about it. It's like I fear making the wrong choice. I fear that I will, if I stick with this thing, because I am aware that just because something's hard doesn't mean that it's bad. That's the other part of this. Is like, maybe sticking it out through this book will pay off really well, because maybe it's a slow read right now and it's kind of dry and I'm not really enjoying it, but I'll just get through it and then I'll really get something amazing out of it. What if I get to just one line and it's a quote that just changes my whole life? What if it just hits me a certain way and it was at the right time and it just makes me reflect on myself in a way different way and I change my life? Those are options. Those are things that could happen. And the probability of them happening to me doesn't seem to factor in. I was like, that's not probable. That's not really what's most likely going to happen here. It's just like, hey, it could happen, and that's it. Just to know more about me, I am not a person who really gambles. Like, I've never played the lottery in any capacity ever. I don't go to casinos. I don't, whatever. It's just not something I do, because I recognize that probability there, it wouldn't be enjoyable for me to lose money, period. It wouldn't be enjoyable. I could have fun while I was winning money. I couldn't really have fun while I was losing money unless I thought I was going to win money. And at the end of the day, if I didn't win the money, it just doesn't seem like I don't have money to lose. So that type of gambling, even if it's just like $1 at a lottery, whatever, I could rationalize that. I've actually thought about it in the past year. I was like, well, you can't win if you don't play. And there's like, I know people that have different philosophies on that, and some of them just like, on my birthday, I just buy a ticket. Or like, every time I go on a road trip, I buy a ticket. And I'm like, what if I do that? But then I'm like, I don't even know how to play. Like, I should just do that. Like, it doesn't, the amount of money that I spend on snacks or on things that don't add to my life in any way, like little things, I spend way more money on that. What if I invested that money into the lottery? That seems like a more sometimes beneficial thing. But anyway, with better possible outcomes, or it could just be nothing. Those are my troubles with the sunk cost fallacy. I mean, my troubles in being like, you know what I'm saying. I'm very prone to putting myself in the sunk cost fallacy very often. It's something that I do need to figure out, and in certain scenarios, it's more costly than others, or more detriment to me than other times. Sometimes I don't really think it's gonna be that bad of a thing in the moment, but other times it is. Sometimes just a little bit of time here, or a little bit of money there, or a little bit of energy. But other times, I mean, that's first of all, that stuff adds up if you do it every day, and other things are just much more important and will take much more out of you. So those are things I need to work on. When do I just need to say, hey, this isn't fun, we need to move on, like I need to do something else, this isn't advantageous to me, this isn't positive, and just be like, hey, it's not right now, and maybe it'll turn itself around, but maybe not, and like I just need to get better at figuring that out. So there's the sunk cost fallacy, there's me, that's how I am with it. It's a huge struggle, and talking about it is making me focus on it, which in turn will hopefully help me make some changes towards it. So that's it for me. We will see you on another time.